What's going on, guys? TheAireaidLord is here, and finally I'm back with a Walking Dead vlog. No more comment bashing like I did before. I'm going to close out some of the stuff I have here. Anyway, I am going to do my predictions for the second half of Season 8 of The Walking Dead. I probably should have done this kind of closer to the release of the mid-season finale, which was like about a month ago. So we'll just get it out of the way right now and kind of go through a few things that most people are looking forward to. I guess the people that are still left on the bandwagon of the show. People who aren't insanely offended by Carl's death or anything along those lines. So, going down the list, I probably just addressed the first thing that people are going to be looking forward to once they get back, which is Carl and the aftermath of that. We saw a little bit in the preview trailer where Rick is assuming his his gravestone, and I guess that silenced handgun means a lot. I don't know if that's the same handgun that he handed to him in Season 2. When he was giving him like a talk about people are gonna die, but you should survive, and here's this gun, and you should start defending yourself. And I don't know if that's the same weapon, because you see him put it in his behind in his pants pocket at the end, and then he takes it from the gravestone. So the first part of episode 9 is gonna be very it's gonna be a heavy episode. Going into it, you can kind of gauge where the show is going to go. With past mid-season finales, there's things to look forward to. Like the Season 6 one, that was big because the bikers, Negan's bikers, had held up Daryl, Abraham, and Sasha, and that was like a big, ooh, what's going to happen thing. They're cornered by all these motorcyclists, then the walkers in Alexandria, so there were a lot of loose ends that weren't tied up, and that was a big kind of cliffhanger. Season 7's, it was more of a feel-good one because Rick got his mojo back and he was ready to start fighting the Saviors, and we saw that he was going to the different communities and meeting them for the first time, so we saw that Rick was going to go to the Kingdom for the first time and then go to Gregory, so there was a lot of communication and linking of storylines we had seen separated for so long, which was nice because a lot of people had complained about the bottlenecks up until that point. But for this one, it left off on a bombshell. There's really no cliffhanger. It's confirmed that Carl is gonna die, and we're gonna see it. And I imagine that Carl will probably have words for Rick, telling him much like the words that he said at the beginning of episode 8, where he was talking about sparing the Saviors, and Rick's like, "What, are we gonna be picking strawberries with Negan?" And that's my best Rick impression. Along those lines, saying that they have to spare them and that they can't kill them all. And this is along the lines of Jesus' philosophy, all those prisoners of war that they have at the hilltop. And the it's been the whole back and forth of this season. You have Daryl's ruthlessness, where he's willing to just pop a Savior in the head out of the blue, and same with Tara. And then you've got someone like Jesus, and even Carl are the two advocates of the opposite side of seeing that there's more of a future on the horizon and that they shouldn't just be killing everybody. So I think that obviously Carl's last words will have a huge impact on Rick. I think it's going to be tough, man. I have no idea in which way that Rick is going to put down his kid. I don't know if it's going to be with a knife. I don't know if he's going to shoot him, kind of maybe do a throwback to how Carl killed Lori in Season 3. There's a multitude of ways that this could go down. And I don't know, it's any number of ways. It's again, like a lot of people, it hasn't kind of registered that such a major character is being killed off, and I never would have expected this. Like, if you were to tell me a year ago at this time, me getting hyped up for the second half of Season 7, that in a year's time I would be talking about how Rick and Michonne and the other characters are going to deal with the death of Carl, I would have been like, what are you talking about? He's still in the comics. There's all that stuff with the Whisperers. He's still alive in the comics. Obviously the comics has killed characters off that are, or the show has killed characters off that are still alive in the comics, but characters like Morgan and Carol, but their arcs have been radically transformed since the beginning. Someone like Carl, they've been following his arc. The thing with the eye getting shot out, the thing with the whole thing with Negan where he's in the truck and he shoots those saviors and then Negan gives him the tour. Like, so many of those scenes were pages right out of the comic books that they followed the progression of Carl's storyline. So for it all of a sudden to take this sudden turn it's just really bizarre. And again, I spent an entire blog talking about this a few weeks ago if you guys want to catch up on that and watch it. I won't go too much into that. So besides, I guess, the aftermath of what's going on with Carl, one thing I'm interested in is Negan's reaction. How's Negan going to react to Carl dying? Because Carl was such a... I would say that Negan respected Carl. I think that last speech that they had together, and Chandler Riggs said that was his last scene with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, when Carl's on the wall and Negan's shouting the megaphone, "Scorched earth, you dick!" Yeah, and you see that Carl almost brings a piece of humanity. Like when Carl says, "Kill me," he offers himself up, and it takes Negan by complete surprise. Obviously, Carl knows that he's been bitten, and him getting killed there, it doesn't matter. He's going to die eventually, and he drops a whole bunch of hints, and it takes Negan aback, and I think it just really puts things in perspective. I think at the end he thinks it was a ploy because Carl runs away, and then they grenade launcher the place anyway. But I think, Negan liked Carl, and he even said when Rick and Negan were having that one-on-one fight, Negan said, in a few years he's going to be one of my top guys. And so Negan obviously wants to keep Carl alive. He likes him. He has plans, and this was not someone even... But you see, then that's weird, because in the season 7 finale, he was about to bash his head in with Lucille until the Kingdom and Shiva stopped it. But I don't know, maybe that was more of a situational thing, just because he wanted to prove a point to Rick and make sure that Rick got the message, and he really wanted to punish Rick for fighting back, and the whole thing with Sasha. I don't know, maybe it was situational, but still, it's kind of weird. Like, he was willing to smack his head at one point, but then later on, he's like, "Oh, well, Carl's got balls. I respect him now." And I don't know. It's in the comics, Negan never threatened to kill Carl. That lineup had different characters in it. When Alexandria fights back, gets defeated, and they get saved. So interesting, but you see a semblance of this in the preview where Rick and Negan are talking on the walkie-talkie, and Negan kind of has a somberness to his voice when he says, "You set this course, Rick. Who's next?" And Rick probably must have told him, on the walkie. They must be communicating. Negan's like, "Where are you? Where are you hiding?" And Rick probably breaks the news in some form. But again, I wonder if Carl will say, it was him helping Sadiq that caused that bite. It had nothing to do with the Saviors. So at the same time, Rick's got to, it's not like Rick can directly take vengeance. Negan and the Saviors didn't do anything. And I think it would almost be impossible for Rick to forgive Negan if he was responsible for Carl's death moving forward. So I think that would skew your storyline. But if you're setting this up that Rick is going to spare Negan at the end of the finale, which is my full prediction, I fully expect that to be correct, that in the season 8 finale he will spare Negan's life. Probably, that'll be how the war ends. They'll make their final stand at the hilltop. Dwight and Daryl talk about this plan in the preview. All of them at Hilltop together, kind of making a final stand. This is a pretty big battle in the comics, which is really cool. The Saviors actually go into some dirty tactics with how they fight in the war, which I won't spoil, but it's interesting. I mean, there's still more of this war left. There's still more war to fight, and I think it's going to be a diversity in the war. It's not going to be just people shooting, just like those first 4 episodes were. I think you'll see more tactical strategies and advantages used. There's especially ones that the Saviors use. Again, I'm trying to stay out of spoiler territory here with some of the things I'm saying, but I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be exciting. Again, I try to say this to hype it up so people aren't, oh, it's boring and all the complaints that usually come with it. So, in terms of King Ezekiel, do you think he'll be I don't know. We saw in the preview that Carol is, you see Gavin and Ezekiel, they're talking in the school. And then Carol pops out and starts spraying. So I don't think Carol left because Ezekiel said, go save the people. They got away. And obviously Carol has pretty strong feelings for Ezekiel, I'd say, at this point. So I don't think she's going to let it go. And then we saw Morgan at the end. He survived the whole sniper skirmish thing, and he's also probably going to lend a hand. So Carol and Morgan trying to save Ezekiel from Gavin's group that took over the kingdom. I have no idea where the kingdom people are going to go. Maybe they'll just all go to the fucking hilltop. Maybe that's really the plan. Everyone from the kingdom, like literally anyone who can hold a gun, is going to the hilltop, and they're just going to hide behind the wood walls and just fight the saviors. I don't know. I think that seems like what the preview has been showing us, and it would seem logical. I think that's a logical way to go, and again, it follows the footsteps of the comics. Of course, the whole fucking thing with Carl doesn't, but it is what it is. Again, I don't want to spend too much of this vlog talking about Carl. And then the Oceanside thing. Oh my god, Enid killing the grandma. I don't know if Sydney's just gonna go rage mode or if she's gonna understand that they got spooked. I don't know, because killing the grandma kind of solves the problem of recruiting the women in the first place, because the grandma was the biggest advocate for not helping. She was the isolationist, the old age American isolationist who didn't want to help and just wanted to be left alone on their little island and survive with their community and nobody else. So I think negotiations are going to be really, really tough moving forward. And I don't know how they go forward, because you've got Aaron and Enid that are there, and these people, they don't have any guns. They took the guns, so they're just going to be guerrilla fighters kind of coming into the line of combat. And then Jadis and the Junkyard people, what the hell's going to happen with them? I mentioned this in the Facebook comments that they've betrayed Rick twice. I don't know where they can really be redeemed. And it's a question mark, man. It's a question mark. I don't know. If I were Rick, I would just go there and wipe them all out. I don't think there's much point in trying to recruit them a third time. What, third time's the charm? I don't think so. These people have shown that they're like the anti-Oceanside. They want to be isolated, but they don't want to help anyone or do anything for any greater good. They're just all for themselves. They're all for themselves, and they make really weird sculptures and have really weird requests specifically for Rick. So those are my general predictions. Again, nothing too big or too blown out of proportion things, but I just kind of wanted to throw those down for you guys to munch on and give your thoughts back on. So yeah, that's about it for me. I'll see you guys later for more vlogs, and as always, comment, rate, subscribe, and I will see you later. Peace out.